Funding and Whiskey, where we talk about business, we tell you how you get funding, but at the same time, we hydrate tonight, right?
Hydrate. Very
Hey
important.
guys, tonight we're gonna have Andy Tolbert. Andy Tolbert is a merchant, he is an expert when it comes down to merchant services. I mean, you know what merchant services is? If you're a business and you accept credit cards, you accept debit cards, ACH, I mean, this is the guy that can answer any of your questions. So I want you guys to listen to him because we got to learn a lot. I mean, I love to hear this guy talk. He's very smart. He's been in the business for so long. He can definitely tell you the ins and outs. So how you doing, Andy?
I'm doing fantastic. Like we just talked about, it's a little colder in my part of the country, but New Year's off to a great start, and I appreciate the kind introduction. So hopefully I can.
That's awesome, man. Where you from, by the way? What state are you from?
I'm originally from the West Coast, so I'm from California. I've spent most of my life on the West Coast, and now I'm in Iowa. I work with and we do everything in house here. So I'm very happy in Iowa.
Love it. Hey, so Andy, the topic of our podcast tonight is all to do of merchant services, and I think when somebody says merchant services, a lot of people like shut off their brain. They're like, I don't know what that is. I don't really care. So, for those individuals out there that are running their own businesses, we're talking to business owners here. Can you define what merchant services are?
Yes, absolutely. And in my definition might be a little biased because I've been in it for a long time, but to me, it's the ability to accept all forms of electronic payments. So your Visa, MasterCard, Discover, Amex, debit networks, the ability to take those payments and accept it at your place of business.
Now, can any business accept credit cards? Is that something that is liable in the United States?
Yes, and in fact, these businesses probably all should be taking credit cards if they're not. But yes, any business can accept all major credit cards.
Yeah, because you know what, and again, different parts of the country. One thing, like we from New York, so I'm originally from New York. And one of the things that you go to a lot of area pockets, and I believe this is cultural too. A lot of business want to be a cash business because they don't want to pay all these fees. They don't want to be able to report so many earnings, and when it comes down to fees, and sometimes the bottom line, sometimes they just whatever comes in, it goes back into the business. So I know that we talked about this, but for the audience, I want you to please explain to them, like, what are the different programs available in which a business, especially a retail business, like mom and pops, you're talking about the hair salons, you're talking about the barbershops, the restaurants, mechanic shop, that they can use, because a lot of other businesses are e-commerce, like our business is e-commerce, and we deal things completely different. But can you go a little more into detail in why and how can a business benefit from a lot of the different programs that we have available to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I understand the concern, right? Like why somebody may not want to take credit and debit cards at their business. I get it. Like reporting, your earnings and stuff, like you have to do it if it's electronic, and if it's cash sales, you don't. But at the same time, I think we've advanced to a period in time where everybody pays with their credit and debit card. I can't remember the last time I purchased something with a cash sale. And so businesses that aren't taking cards right now, I don't think they realize how much business they're missing out on.
Right.
How many people might drive by, or maybe they don't go there that day, or maybe they wait. Let's say I'm getting a haircut, guys, and I need a haircut. I don't have the cash on me. I might wait a week to go and get my haircut, or I might go somewhere else that accepts a credit card. So it can apply to any business, but I think it slows down cash flow. And when you have more customers, they talk to other people too. So if your business is just going to grow and grow. So I think the reward is always going to be greater taking payments, than not being able to. And there's programs if you don't want to pay the fees. There's ways to pass it on to your customer that are the right way to do it, if that's your concern too. So there's a lot of reasons this day and age to be able to take payments.
Got it.
Yeah, no, and I think you said something really important there, is that a lot of businesses don't realize, what they're leaving on the table. They're not capturing. So I used to work for a business that we were e-commerce, and all we took were Cash App, Zelles, Venmo, Western Union, all these sorts of different payments to get around credit cards because you said it, right? We didn't want to report, but not only that, with credit cards, we felt like there was some type of liability with customer disputes. And so we were like, hey, you know what? Let's hold off on doing it. And one day, we decided to make that switch, and our sales, when we started to take credit cards, from digital payments and Cash App increased by 300% overnight, wow. Right? We weren't expecting that. Now, of course, we had to deal with some of the credit card issues, but the amount of money that we were able to bring into the business by taking credit cards, it was well worth it. Well worth it.
Good perspective. You think too, for a local business, the big guys are. Walmart takes credit cards, McDonald's takes credit cards, and this is an easy way for you to actually get on the same level as those national chains, because you do have that ability as a locally owned place to do it and level up. Why leave something out on the table? Your example was perfect. You tried it and you found out, holy crap, we're getting a lot more business because of it. I've seen the same trend. Places that are cash only that go to taking electronic payments, before you know it, their revenue increases. You can hire more employees. You can invest more in your business. There's a lot you can do with that.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to kind of break it down a little bit farther, because again, I feel like a lot of business owners out there, they hear merchant services, their brain shuts off. They're like, I don't know. So what are some examples of merchant services that are really popular that everybody would know about?
Yeah.
You're talking, Brock, just about different ways to take the credit card,
or different different types of processing companies that allow you to take credit cards. So that way all of our audience can be on the same page, and they'll be, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Merchant services processing.
Yeah. So every time a payment is made, right, when we're a customer, we just see the terminal, right? We see the machine, the POS system, whatever it is, where the payment's taken. There's a lot going on when that's happening. It's the machine, the hardware is literally just a vessel to do that, but someone is actually processing that transaction. So think about it like a cell phone, right? I have an iPhone. That iPhone, that hardware is doing nothing. It's really the service, right? It's the Verizon, the AT&T, T-Mobile that's allowing me to send text messages, to go on the internet and things like that. And so that's what your merchant services provider, your processing company, that's what they're actually doing, is they're the ones that are allowing that payment to process. And they're the ones that can set the parameters on their programs, right? What rates are they charging you? What programs, what hardware they have, what type of service that you get. So it's really important to choose a processor that fits your business needs. There's different programs for different people. Just like with the cell phone, I wouldn't want to pick a family plan if I was just a single guy. It wouldn't make sense, and vice versa. Right. You want to get the right plan for your business, and you want to do your homework and make sure your processing company does have the right plan for you.
Mm-hmm. I love the analogy.
It's something that we also got to talk about. So as a merchant, as a paying system, and having a merchant account for businesses, something that a lot of businesses need to understand too is that when you run a business just cash, it is not trackable. So when you want to expand, you want to get lending for a business. Now you have nothing to report. So how can a bank or lending company can support what you're looking for in order what you're making, but you cannot show what you are making. So in this case, having a merchant account can help you. And even though if it's a cash system, if it's like a cash discount program, you still can show to the bank now what you are making monthly and your revenue and your cash flow. So like that you can support, because sometimes, especially if you want to expand the business, and sometimes you won't even want to exit the business. You need to invest into the business again. And in order to do so, you need to go outside and get what we call OPM, all the people's money. And by doing that, you are going to have to support not only with your business credit, your personal credit, but also the revenue that you bring in through the business. And if you are cash only under the table, guess what? It's like a lot of people, like a lot of those real estate investors that they make money, but they never show they make any money. So when they go back to the bank to try to get a loan, they can, because in your taxes or in the returns to show that you're not making anything, so you cannot support another loan. So, you got to be, especially in business, if you want to grow, if you want to expand, if you want to exit, or if you want to develop your business to develop is, sell a discretionary earnings. You need to be able to support and show what is the revenue for your business. So having a merchant account, it is very paramount for your growth. Doesn't matter who you are, especially today, because we find ourselves in the digital age. A lot of people are not coming to your storefront. A lot of businesses have closed their doors because most of their business come online. So how do you think you are going to collect money? No one is going to mail you a check or a couple dollars, right? They're gonna use a piece of card, and they're gonna swipe it. They're gonna put it into your paying system. So like that, you are able to get paid, continue making revenue, and continue grow. So having a merchant account today is very essential. Now, let me ask you something, Andy. What type of businesses should we consider to be in the risky side? Or what type of business are those businesses that are, no matter where they go, they could get a merchant account?
Great question. And I'm glad you brought that up. You and I have actually talked about this a little bit just from our run-ins. And I think it's really important that merchants know, and even people selling merchant services understand how this works. I mainly deal with the retail, channel of which is 95% of businesses out there, which is just traditional processing, restaurants, auto repair shops, furniture stores, businesses that are more traditional. And most businesses fit that parameter where you can do a low risk merchant account. It gives you the ability to get low rates. Just you have a lot of advantages if you're able to do a low risk merchant profile. But what would make a merchant more risky, right? Where maybe it would be tougher to get approved with somebody like VisiPay or me, and they'd have to search elsewhere. If you have a business that does a lot of larger transactions, like really high volume on single sales, that can do it. If the majority of the transactions are physically keyed in, right? Like card not present, where maybe I'm going on a website and I'm buying something online and you can't verify certain things, it makes it more risky. Not to say you can on those, but if a lot of the factors come together and it turns out that the account's just too risky, it buckets into what's considered a high risk merchant. And then if it really extends beyond that, it goes into what we would call a prohibited list. So even though they couldn't process with me and the company I represent, there are also high-risk processors out there too. So you'll always try and see if you can go through a low-risk channel. But if your business is, let me think of a good example. Let's say a strip club is a perfect example, right? A strip club is not going to get approved with a low-risk processor just because people deny that they were ever there for obvious reasons. But processors, they have ways to board those accounts. They have terms that they can set up to where they can still take cards. If I'm selling guns online, well, guess what? I have no chance to get approved for a low risk retail business. The whole, verification thing is tough, especially when it's keyed in. I would have to go through a high risk processor, and I'm probably going to pay higher rates to process my cards, but I would still have an advantage over other businesses doing the same thing that could actually take those payments.
Let me ask you something, and I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off, but going in the same. So this doesn't hit too far from where we are. When we first started the business, we were in the credit business, in the personal credit repair business. That right there, and I don't know if you're hearing us. I know this is we talk to you guys a lot of the times. That considered us and back then as a high risk business. So knowing what type of business you start to, it is essential. Now, before we move forward, before your question, Brock, what are the fees that a lot of these businesses can consider? Because at the same time, if you're trying to open a business, we talk about this all the time. This is the recession coming up. If you're going to open a business right now, make sure that you also go into an industry that is going to be profitable. You need to study the market. You need to be able to see what are your ins and outs. You need to be able to see what you sell. And having knowledge of what a merchant account and how to open one, and to make sure that you are low risk, to make sure that you are going to save in your bottom line, because you don't have to pay these high fees because all of a sudden you decide to go into a high risk business, is essential, because you could be saving a lot of money. Let me just give you a figure over here. If your business, if you're successful this year and you charge, or you made about $200,000 for the year, your fees for those having a credit card and saving or not, it could go anything between $6,000 to $8,000. So you could be saving a lot of money. Now, if you go to a high risk business, that's just anything between 3.2%, right? Am I correct, Andy?
Yeah, high risk. A lot of times it's even more.
Even more, right?
Like, the strip club would probably not be that bad, but the online gun sales, yeah, you're paying a lot at that point, maybe 7 or 8%. So you can factor that into your
7 to 8%.
There's different factors, but like you said, Carlos, you got to factor that into your cost of doing business. And I think a lot of business owners, they don't think about that part of things, right? It's like, how do we get up and running? And you don't factor that in, but good to think about up front.
So, we're talking about fees here. So how would a business owner know? I know this is a really broad question, Andy, so try to do your best, right? But how would a business owner know if they're getting a good deal on their processing service or a bad deal?
Yeah, I can actually answer that. So
awesome.
There is this is actually public information. I'm going to state this on the public air here. This is the word to remember: interchange, right? So what interchange is interchange is the cost the card issuing bank charges to process the card. So if I use my Wells Fargo debit card, that's going to have a certain interchange rate that it actually costs the processor to process the card. If I use a fancy Amex rewards card, that's going to have its own cost too. You could literally Google it, Visa interchange table. You'll see 1,300 different card types out there, right? You're not going to memorize it, but that is the actual cost to process the cards, because the banks, that's how they make their money, is when those cards are run. And then Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, they make a small percentage too every time a card is run. So interchange is the true cost to process the card. So the whole key is that you don't want to be paying a whole lot more than interchange. Your processor has to make something on the account, so they're going to charge a markup on top of interchange, but you don't want it to be a really high markup. So if you're on interchange plus pricing, you kind of see what the percentages are and work out a lower deal. If you're on like a tiered pricing structure where it's not based off of interchange, but you're just on a flat tiers, those you're generally paying a lot more. It leaves a lot of meat on the bone. And you have cards that downgrade. Let's say I key in my debit card, it's going to downgrade to non-qualified. So even though that card costs less than 1% to run, I might be paying a rate like 3.5% because it downgraded to non-qualified. So it's better to be, if you're doing traditional processing, it's better to be on like an interchange plus type of model and just make sure that you have a low rate. And probably most importantly, make sure that you're not paying any bullshit monthly fees, like things that don't exist, because some processors do make things up that really are not fees that somebody should be paying. They're just being added on. So just being real with you guys.
That's good to know. Now, do you by any chance know like what the most expensive processing service out there is?
On the traditional retail side, I'm gonna have to do it. There's this company called Heartland, and they're them and TSYS and WorldPay are all kind of merged together now. They used to be pretty darn good. They used to be a pretty competitive company, but in time, what they've done is they've added on these insane fees, right? So like they do is they charge a monthly non-compliance fee of $125 a month, which is literally just BS, right? Like they don't want the merchant to become compliant, so they can charge them that fee. They also charge EMV non-compliance fees, right? So it's like if your machine isn't EMV compliant, which they should probably help the client get a newer machine that takes the chip card, they charge them extra fees for that. I've seen big merchants. I mean, we're talking restaurants doing 80, 100 grand a month that are paying effectively 6 or 7% because of all their hikes that they've done and all these added fees that they've done in time. So it's the junk. Like if you're a business owner out there and you want to make sure you're getting a good deal, the biggest thing to look out for is the junk fees. Make sure you eliminate those first. That's what you really want to look out for.
So, we talk to a lot of business owners every single day, and one of the main processing services that they use would be, what would you say, Stripe, Square, Carlos?
Yeah, pretty much Stripe for the most part.
Stripe,
a lot of people use Stripe.
PayPal.
Yeah, PayPal.
How would those, Andy, rank, right? Are those any good?
For certain businesses, yes. And you see Stripe and Square and PayPal out there a lot because you can go online and get set up with that. You don't need Andy or Carlos or Brock to walk into your business and say, "Hey, I have a really good service." You could just go online and just say, "Hey, I want to get this," and do it all there, right? You don't even have to deal with a person. So a lot of people end up with those. We know those companies really well because we run into them. We kind of know their strengths and weaknesses. So like for example, Square, right? Square has
Let's talk about the weaknesses. Come on.
about the what
Let's
now?
talk about those weaknesses. Come on. We gotta talk about those.
Let's do it. I'm gonna be fair though too, right? Like so for
Yeah.
Square, I know them inside and out, right? So here's what they do good. They have no contract and they don't charge a monthly fee. So if I'm somebody that does a really small volume or, maybe I take a payment every couple months or whatever, like it's a really good product for me because I don't really need the service. The rate doesn't impact me that much. I just want something I can kind of run here and there. If I'm selling Girl Scout cookies or whatever, it's a good way to take a payment, right? But here's the problem with Square. Their rates are not very dynamic. You see a Square statement, and if someone's taking a card present transaction, they charge 10 cents and 2.6%. If it's keyed in, they charge 3.5%. So they don't really customize their rates. And so you're paying a lot more money with Square when you do your processing. So if you have a real volume, it really does add up. They're kind of limited with their equipment, their little phone swipe app. You have to physically put it on your phone. You don't have a Bluetooth option. So that kind of sucks. And the biggest thing, you don't have service. You don't have a Carlos. You don't have somebody that you can actually work with that's on your team servicing your account. And hey, as a local business owner, you're not shopping local when you use Square.
That's a good point.
You're shopping with a national type of a company, and you're not even getting the best deal. So it fits a need for some places. And same thing with PayPal, right? PayPal is like, they charge high rates, but I think the biggest thing with PayPal that kind of sucks is I have to be a PayPal customer to pay you on PayPal.
Right.
I'm not a PayPal customer. So if you want me to pay on PayPal, I'm sorry. I had a bad experience with them a while ago. When I won a fantasy football league and, I had to go around it and use my wife's account. So I don't use PayPal, so I couldn't pay. And, they have some decent technology out there among those different things, but I think there's a lot better options for a real business.
And you know what, man, and this is great that you actually kind of breaking everything down, because that's the main thing that a lot of people don't understand and try to stay away from, because companies like the one you spoke about earlier, a lot of the time people have bad experience. You don't know how many people we come to and we start explaining to them what we can offer through you guys, and they say, really, is that something that is really available? Yes, I mean, and the fees that the customer is able to pay are so minimal. But one thing that we always hear too is, what is the difference? So if I'm able to accept ACH, debit, and credit cards, what is the difference in fees, and why would anyone have the ability to do that? And if is there, a should you be able to accept all three of them or not? Is this something that can help the business owner in this case?
I think for the most part, yeah, it's good to be able to accept it any way you can. Now, if I'm, running a small coffee shop, I'm probably not going to worry too much about the ACH stuff. I just want to be able to take credit cards and cash payments. But if I'm, running a property management company and I'm taking rent payments every month, you're damn right. I want to be able to take all of them because I want to make it really easy for my customer to make that payment, not have to deal with delinquents and then, figuring out how to replace them with. So I think it depends on the kind of business, but yeah, if it makes sense, take them all if you can.
So along those lines, Andy, what are some requirements that a business needs to have in order to be approved for a merchant service, that a good merchant service?
Sure. Yeah. So every processing company that I've ever worked with or am aware of, they have an application that you fill out, right? And so that application, it's going to have your business info, right? So it's going to have where your address is, what your tax ID is, your bank account information. So they have somewhere to route your deposits, what equipment you're doing, what rates you're doing, and guess what? Your social, right? They're going to ask you to verify who the owner is on that account, and the biggest reason is because people can use a merchant account to to kind of screw somebody else over. So if I had somebody else's personal information and I wanted everything route to me, I could take Carlos, I could take your info, put it on there, and then just use that to basically embezzle money to me. So we have to be very careful that it's the right person, that it's a match. Well, we don't necessarily need someone to have great credit, but we just need to make sure there's a match. That's the biggest thing.
What about a website? Does somebody need to have a website to get approved for a merchant?
So a website helps, right? So our big thing when we underwrite stuff is we want to make sure that business exists. And we know that there's businesses that don't have a website that are totally functional and legit. Most have like a Facebook page or whatever. But if you're a newer business and you want to make sure that you're going to get approved through underwriting, the more web presence that you have, the better. I mean, heck, if you have a business license, you have a website, it's got your phone number and your address on there and everything matches with what's on the application. That's what an underwriter is going to want to look at, that things match up.
Okay. So, and another thing that we usually get is, a lot of people, with everything going on, like this spiked up over the past 2 months when people were stealing people's information, identity theft. Trust me, we in a business that we are. I have one of the credit cards still with people that somebody tried to steal, and we on top of everything. So I knew that when it happened, but a lot of business owners are afraid to even use credit card processing systems because they say, when you talked about it earlier, the PCI compliance. How can they protect themselves and are they liable for if something happens with somebody steals somebody else's information and they're running through this credit card or merchant or card processor? How can they protect themselves?
Got it. Well, as a business owner, the best way to do it is to do what you can to prevent chargebacks from happening in the first place. Sometimes you can't stop it, right? Sometimes, you're going to get somebody that disputes something that shouldn't be disputed. And it's a pain in the butt to deal with the chargeback. I'm not going to lie, because the way the card brands work and the rules and everything, it's kind of handled like its own jurisdiction where you have to provide a response and you have to spend time dealing with that chargeback. So the best way to deal with it is try to prevent as many chargebacks as you can. So one thing you can do, I know it's kind of basic and self-explanatory, but if you're not sure about something, ask a customer for photo ID. If it's a larger transaction or you have any concern, just make sure it's the same person that's the card holder that's making that payment. Little things like that can go a long way. But also if you have like a website, make sure that you have terms and conditions on that site, right? Don't just leave it open-ended, because if you have terms and conditions, it's a heck of a lot harder for that customer to come back and issue a chargeback if you had it clearly laid out too. So there's things that you can do ahead of time to prevent problems, preventative maintenance.
Let me share something with you guys, because this happened to me. Now we're talking about chargeback and stealing information. Back in November, so we have a couple of Airbnbs, but one of them in Fort Lauderdale, we had 2 back-to-back chargebacks. Was almost like $10,000, and people stole people's information. One of them, since we learned the week before what happened, the person, we needed to do a return, but they didn't want to be returned back to the card. They wanted to go ahead and return in person, cash. I mean, that sounds very iffy. And so we wanted to make sure. So our management company over there wanted to verify that information. Again, this came through Airbnb. So, they usually go ahead and reserve the room, or they reserve their house, in this case, through Airbnb. But by doing that, and when they wanted to actually get a refund in person, we decide to verify, just like you said, with an ID. And what happened is that they didn't have nothing to provide. So we called the police. They got arrested. We were able to actually but we also had that chargeback. But this is what happens too right now. And it happens usually through the holidays. But again, as a merchant, yes. And when you're doing something online, and this is why, if your business is e-commerce, most of us are considered high risk, right? Okay, so and again, so you have to be able to also condition yourself, be able to have reserves as a business owner. If you are a brick and mortar business, there's certain things that you could put in place. Like you said, always ask for ID to verify who the person is, but don't shy away, because it's part of business. It is essential because it's going to help you in the long run. Business is not perfect. As long as you learn and you learn how to protect yourself, you'll be successful at it. And you need to have and you should have a merchant account no matter what. But I'm just telling you, you know what? That's something that happened to us back in November. We have to eat it. We have to actually be able to have a fail safe for those days when we could have probably had some other tenants throughout that 2 weeks and we lost that amount of money. But again, you have reserves. But it's just like any business owners, you need to be able to learn how to operate your business. And in this case, it was a short-term rental business that we had those chargebacks. But it's the name of the game.
Wow. Yeah, and Carlos, you said something really, really important earlier too that I also wanted to kind of hit on was the fact that, if you're not processing payments, if you're taking cash, right? It would be like, what's a good analogy here? It would be like trying to go buy a home when you've been just being paid cash for the last 10 years and you don't have any verifiable income, right? So, and what that provides you is that provides you statements when you need to go out and borrow money or maybe expand your business, buy a new what's the word I'm looking for? Buy a new office space or furnish the office space or what have you. You're not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to use your own money because you decided that, hey, processing cards was not something that you were interested in. I thought that was really good, Carlos, because I didn't really think about it that way until you had said something. You're muted. Mute.
Yes, and I always press that the little button. So you got to think about your business as a portfolio. It's a portfolio that actually you need to put together. Merchant accounts is one of those legs. When we talk about business credit, and I'm not muted right now, right? I just want to make sure.
You're good. You're good.
So we talk about like business credit. That's one of those things too that you need to think about, like certain things that you could put together. Like today, I'm even meeting with one of the lending companies today. One of the things that they see is the ability of that business to be able to hold a merchant account company, because that gives him a background, be able to tell the bank that this business is here to stay. And it's not easy, but it is easy if you have everything together to put a merchant account or open a merchant account, right? But that shows a bank that you have skin in the game, that people can actually find you, because every merchant account company is going to do the due diligence on you and your business. And if you are able to actually open one, even if you're a low risk or high risk, then you are a business that is here to stay for the most part. We know that nothing is given, nothing is, business is business. You may lose today or you may win. And it all depends on how you do this. But you have to think about that merchant accounts when it comes down to business credit is essential, because that could be one of your accounts that could build that whole leg. One of the legs of your business is your business credit, and your ability to obtain more funding, your ability to obtain more credit to continue to grow and be able, because, and this is something that we were teaching the other day too, by you creating this, by you having been able to also create a merchant account, creating the lending, have the ability to be lendable and fundable, makes your business more valuable. So today you decide to sell your business and you didn't take the time to put this in place. Guess what? You're going to sell it for pennies on the dollars. But if you had everything in place and now you have a credit of the business that is able to obtain more lending, but you have merchant accounts. And let me ask you something. Is it wise to open more than one merchant account for the business, Andy?
Most likely there's no need.
Occasionally, right?
You'll get a situation like that where it makes sense. But for the most part, one, you have everything. These days you get online reporting from just about every processor in the world. It used to be you would just get paper statements and then the tax form in the mail, and that was really all what you could lose. But nowadays, everyone gives you portal access, right? So I could, if you're a merchant with my company, you could go in and then just, with your login, you could pull up any statement, any deposit. You can, do customized reports, see how you're growing, trends, things like that. So you would be able to present it really good. It's interesting you brought that up, Carlos, because we would look at somebody if they had processing statements submitted with their deal. It's almost a slam dunk approval, right? I mean, there's like nothing we even have to review. It's like we can see their volumes. There's a lot we can see on there. just like if we can see somebody paid off a prior loan, the next company's probably going to give them a loan at a good rate. It's kind of the same thing. And you took it a whole step further, saying, look at the long-term impact on your business by being able to provide these. And I'm going to use that as a selling tool moving forward. So thank you.
So so that's good. So it is like a resume that you show not only your merchant account company, your bank. They need to know who you are, what you bring to the table, and then you are able to repay. At the end of the day, we understand that you're a business and you're here to make money. So is everybody else. So that's something that we got to make sure that we help each other out. Learn how to play the game so you become a player in the game and not hate everything else because we hear it all the time. But before I continue on that one, so my last point in that is that once you actually have this merchant accounts, and a lot of the times when we grow as a business, our volume grows too. So you are able, if you don't need to get another account, you also are able to go through underwriting one more time and reassess the account, right, and be able to grow your volume for your merchant account, right?
Yes, so, absolutely.
So so that's something that you can definitely do, but it's essential for you to grow the business, for you to be able, because soon enough, I mean, dollar and monetary, everything how we get paid, but everything's gonna go. Everything today, like most of the money that we get, I haven't seen a dollar. Like I probably carry like $3, and everything else is cards. Honestly, I don't like to pay with debit. I don't like to pay ACH. I love to play with credit cards because I'm able to get all the benefits of travel, of cash back. I have the money, and then I'll pay it back. And you play with other people's money. So this is what we teach you: finance. Learn how to play the game, and by doing that too, and by you getting a merchant account for your business, that allows you to even get more money back, more lending from the business, so like that you can invest into your business in the long run. Right, Brock?
Hey, that sounds great.
All right, man. So let me see. Something that I wanted to ask you. So if today you wanted to open a business, what is some of the business that you advise that are easier to open a merchant account company for?
To be able to get set up with payments?
Let's just say today is, I say there's a recession coming. I'm losing my job. I say I'm going to go into business. Give me some examples of some of the businesses that you attract like bees, that you want to actually work with, and that if they come through the door today, you'll say, yes, I'll get you a merchant account company. I mean, a merchant account.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything food and beverage related is an obvious one. Even like little ones, food trucks or hip little coffee shops and stuff like that. Those are super low risk businesses for us, so even though they're brand new and they don't have a lot established, they could easily get set up with the merchant account. Places that hair and nail salons, those are very easy ones to get set up. Even like vehicle repair, if you have a special skill set, how to fix cars, if everything checks out, everything's there, we could get you approved. You might not get a crazy high ticket right off the bat, but you can build yourself there. Anything that we can verify that's there and the owner's information matches up, and they got a business checking account, it's pretty approvable.
Got it. So how about if I'm a small business? This is what happened a lot of the times, and we hear it. I don't have an office. I'm working from my home, but I have everything put together. But that's something that will help a lot of businesses. Hey, you need to meet the compliance items that a bank needs. That algorithm, the business address, business phone number, everything, a website. But I'm working from home because I'm a single mom with 2 kids. And I'm putting things together, and I'm selling things in Etsy, but I want to be able to also sell things online. Am I able to get a merchant account?
You can. So if you're actually selling things online, you're doing it e-commerce, that's fine, right? But have your website up to date. Don't just get one of those GoDaddy accounts that a domain that you don't own that domain, right? So it doesn't really apply. I could set one up and just fake it, right? So so get a real website. If you can design one, fantastic. If not, hire a web developer. You get smart kids out of college that can put something together that looks really good. Make sure it's all there, right? Make sure that everything legit on your site, that it looks clean. It has pricing. That's a big one, that it actually has pricing so that we can see what the size of the sale is going to be and what kind of product they're getting. And then if there are, terms and conditions and things, that it's all laid out, and that you have contact information, right? That you have your phone number, your business address, and, an email contact, things like that. It's going to be pretty approvable if all those things line up.
Nice. Now,
all right.
I know that, sometimes we deal with a small business that deal with money that they get today, they're growing, they got to put it back into the business. One of the things that we always hear is, okay, we'll have PayPal, we'll have Stripe, and I only get my money like 5 days from now. How quick can people get their money? How business owners get their money so they could go ahead and go back, still grind and still grow, and be able to put it back into the business or whatever, or go to the guy that you just gave him the strip club account to go over there. But how quick can they actually get this the funds or the revenue that they make from the merchant account?
The cash flow, baby. It's a big deal. Say I'm a landscaper or a construction company, I can't do my next job if I don't have that cash flow coming in. So it's a big deal. We do it next day, right? So anything that is set to batch out before 10 p.m. Eastern time, that's in somebody's account the very next morning, right? We set tickets on the account so that nothing triggers, right? As long as it's not like a $30,000 transaction when your high ticket was a lot lower than that.
Yeah,
it's not going to flag. It's just going to go right through. No one's ever going to review that transaction. It's not going to get held. You set your batch time just before the cutoff, and the next morning, check your bank account. You bet your butt those fees, those processing volume is there in your merchant account the very next morning. It's pretty sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, there's a lot of companies out there that don't do that.
I hear it all the time.
So and again, cash is king. Cash is king. If you are able to get your money back on time, it is essential for your business and for you. But let me ask you something. If I'm able to do this, am I locked in for a 12-month contract, for a 24-month contract? What is it?
I was hoping you were going to ask this because I want to give a little advice.
I saw it in your face. I said, let me go there.
Any business owners out, this is like the biggest thing I can ever say to anybody. And I'm not going to say process with my company, VisiPay is great. Like it is. But first and foremost, don't sign up for a contract. First of all, do not lease any hardware. Don't get caught in any sort of leasing program because you're gonna pay a lot more for something. And don't get into a contract for the merchant service company either, because you don't know what's next. I mean, we saw the pandemic 2.5 years ago. We saw what happened. There were businesses that literally had to shut down. How much would that suck to have, a $695 fee and then have to go to the FedEx store to ship back your equipment to your processor that put you in a 3-year contract? So month to month, do not sign up for anything. If they say there's a 3-year contract or whatever on it with the big termination fee and all these other terms, don't sign up with them, because there are a lot of companies out there that offer month to month. We only do month to month. We don't do contracts at all. Some companies, they do, but they can do month to month if you negotiate, and some just do contracts. So don't do the ones that do contracts.
That's awesome, man. And you know what?
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a great point. So when it comes down to a lot of businesses, and in this case, we're talking about brick and mortars, we have, they have something already that they use in the past. And this is what we love to help. I mean, we go into businesses and sometimes they're using something already. And we provide them with a different option that most of the time is better than what they're using. Can they use the same system that they were using, or can we actually get them new terminals? That's what we call it, right? Terminals, for them to be able to use them within the business, or even a payment. What is it called? The mobile terminal that they're able to get. Can you explain a little more on that? Because I know that's a question, because we have it's a eyebrow a company that we actually talked to. They have 2 sites, and they've been using this company already. I think it's Square, by the way. And they have a little fancy, and they say, but they have a POS system that they want to be able to integrate. So can we integrate with them or not? Can you explain that a little bit better? Because I know that a lot of people have that question. So I already have whatever I have put together. I don't want to change it, because, when you get so comfortable with something, you never want to change. But if you find something better, and that can save me money. I want to make sure that business owners understand how the change is going to make the life easier in the long run. And I also, please talk about the statement, how the statement that our customers can get, and how can that benefit in the long run as well.
Yes, great question. So every business is different. And so there's different equipment options out there. And some people ask me, oh, is this better than this? Well, it depends what you do, right? So like if I just have a regular retail storefront and I just need to take payments, I don't have any inventory or menu or anything like that. I need a standalone terminal, right? Because it's probably get it for free. We can issue those for free. A lot of places can. And there's no point to try to convert what you have because there's no programming. So just get one that's all set up from the new company. And these things do have a shelf life, so it's probably time to get the newer one anyway. So most businesses, that's all they need. They just need something that you can put in there. It's plug and play, ready to go. Now you have the newer one that takes all the Apple Pay and all that good stuff. That's it, right? You mentioned a mobile account, right? Let's say I have somebody that, does towing and they need to take payments on the go. You want an app like a Swipe Simple or a Clover Go because you can have it talk to your smart device, take payments anywhere you go, send an invoice. It's perfect for somebody like that. What you mentioned, POS conversion, and where that would come into play is if you have somewhere that has something programmed in, right? Maybe you have a restaurant with a big menu, you get like a cheesecake factory with all these items. There's just no freaking way you want to start over with your employees learning a new system. Like, I get it. Sometimes it makes sense if a new system can do more than the one you have. But let's just say there's just no way that you're going to change out that hardware software that you're using, but you are interested in saving some money. If the company can give you a better deal, you're going to have to check and see if it's compatible. Some POS systems are, I guess the word they use for it is agnostic, which means that they could work with different processing companies, like they work on multiple platforms. Other ones are proprietary, is the lingo. So like Square, for example, it's new technology. You can't convert into Square. It's a badass little POS that they have, right? They charge like $400 or $500 for it, and you can't plug into their stuff. What you could do, this is kind of outside the box. It's in every this is something that you would have to do every single transaction, but you could plug a terminal in there and do a tender button so that our terminal is actually taking the payment and you're utilizing the Square software, but it's an extra step every transaction. It's not ideal. So you can save some money. It's just extra work.
Got it.
So.
But I was watching too. We have, through some of the system, we have something like what Square provides. And I think it's even better. Am I correct on that?
Clover is what you're talking about. Clover's pretty dope, man. Clover's pretty dope.
Yes.
It's cloud-based. They have 4 different products. They have the full-on station. They have the mini, and they have Clover Flex. They have Clover Go. You can do anything on there. And the cool thing about Clover is it's app-based. So if I'm a pizza place and I'm like, okay, does it do deliveries? You just go search deliveries. There's probably like 8 apps that are going to pop up, right? Time awesome. There's an app for it. So they have a whole app store. So you can make the call. It's like you have your own little shopping cart and find out what's going to work. And I know they let you try out these apps for the first month before you have to actually pay for them, which I think is pretty sweet. Yeah. Because you don't want to put somebody in, hey, it'll do this, this, and this. And then they find out, man, that's expensive. They actually have the ability to try these things out before they purchase them, which is pretty sweet.
Very cool. Yeah, I've used Clover in the past, and it was nice. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, man. So we're streaming right now over about 50 different groups in Facebook. One person has a question in there. His name is Kenny. He's asking how's the customer service for our systems, and are they different than what Stripe offers?
Good question. So I'm glad you're asking that, Kenny. Before you sign up with a processing company, I know I said the whole thing about month to month, but check their reviews too, right? Like every company is going to say they have great customer service, right? And then you can get a hold of them, and their reps are very friendly and helpful. Check the reviews. The Google doesn't lie, and a company that has a lot of bad reviews, you're going to be able to find it. So do your homework on that before you sign up with someone. Where we're at, we're big on picking up the phone right away, right? Making sure that you don't have people sitting on hold because, hey, we get it. You're running a business, right? When you're running a business, you don't have time to sit on hold to wait for somebody to pick up your call that may or may not be helpful. You had to talk to a live human. So we're big and we actually put like dashboards up that show like customer service queue. And if it's more than 30 seconds, that's a problem. And we're going to figure that out. Like you're going to get somebody to pick you up within 30 seconds. That's a big downfall with Square and Stripe. And some of those is they just have a general 800 number that you have to call. And they don't really prioritize, being able to help their customers on the spot. And a lot of people don't even know that there's better options out there where you can get straight through to somebody. Have a rep account too. So you have not only the internal customer tech support with the company, but you also have another individual too. So like if you have a problem and you're not happy with it, you got another person you can reach out to too. I think that's a huge advantage.
Awesome.
Well said.
All right, man. Gladys asks, my local Chinese restaurant makes me pay 50 cents every time that I charge less than $10. Do you guys have a minimum purchase amount?
Great question, Gladys. We could open up a whole new can of worms. So I'll try to keep this really brief. But business owners have gotten smarter over the years, and they've realized like, okay, these processing fees, we don't like them. I think our customers should pay them. And the reality is that probably is who should be paying it, right? I'm the customer. I'm the one benefiting from using the card and the convenience and everything. So you can do that, but there's right and wrong ways to do it. And surcharging, you can surcharge, just to be clear, surcharging is legal in 48 out of the 50 states, but there's some parameters there. Like you can't surcharge a debit card, for example. So that 50 cents that they're charging, under $10, that would actually violate things because it would be over 4%. And if they're doing it to debit cards too, you can't do it to debit cards. So I would suggest for them to just adjust how they're doing it and do a cash discount program where they adjust the prices in their business for the food. And you can do up to 4%. Legally, you can do up to 4%, right? So you adjust the prices for the food just to reflect the new credit card price, and you offer the customer a discount for paying with cash. So you're simply factoring the credit card price into your overall cost on the menu. That's the right way to do it.
Wow. That was a good question.
Yeah.
Right. Good old Gladys. Let's go, Gladys.
Awesome. All right, Joe, and I think I know, but I'm going to ask Joe. Okay, good. He says he's opening an adult store. Can we provide him with a merchant account company, system?
With VisiPay, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to do that because our sponsoring bank, it would cross the threshold where they wouldn't be able to afford it. But there are high risk processors that would take it, especially if the items, if the retail items and people are going in there, you could probably work out a pretty good deal with a high risk processor on that.
Got it. All right. So one thing too is that do we support out of country charges or just in the US?
One day, right? So for now, the businesses and the owners of the businesses have to be physically located within the US. The way the card brands work is they're all the same for the country, right? I go to Mexico, they've got their whole set of rules. Go to Canada, they got their whole set of rules. And so the parameters are set within the US. And so just everything has to be located here. But it can be in all 50 states, by the way. It's all the same.
Got it. Okay, so I'm gonna ask two more questions. So I don't want to keep here all night. There's a lot of questions here, but guys, if you have any more questions on this, in the bottom of this video, you're gonna see our link. You can also, once this video gets reposted, you're gonna see the number. But no matter what, you can call our office at 516-600-0127. Now, one of the things that I know that I saw one of the questions here that I didn't think it was. Okay. So they talked about how different is this. So they I guess they have a e-commerce business. Apparently, they have to use a payment gateway called Recurly. Do we provide something different? I know I used this in the past. In order to be able to use that link, I needed to pay like about $100 extra a month just to be able to link it up. Do we provide something completely different in which they are able to integrate it with a funnel, their website, and how much is it?
Excellent question. So payment gateways, right? Is a gateway. What the heck is a gateway, right?
Yeah.
Well, so when somebody has a website, they have everything set up on there. That's great. And we can process the payments all day long, but there is one thing that puts the whole piece of the puzzle together, right? And that's one thing they don't have to take those payments right now is a gateway. We can provide one. The one that we use is called authorized.net. Some of you listening might have actually used authorized.net. It's very common, very universal. I think it's used a lot because it's designed for ease of use for somebody to be able to hook it up with their website. It's just really easy for people to figure that out. So basically we would send a link, you go through the credentials, and before you know it, bam, you can take payments online. It's $15 a month. So it's a really good gateway. They have a few extra services that could be more, just for being able to do the stuff through the shopping cart, $15 a month. That's pretty worth it.
And I'll have to give it to authorized.net. I've used them a lot, and they're pretty easy to work with. It's very user friendly SaaS, so I love it.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, man. So tax wise, this is the last question that we're gonna have. At the end of the year, do we provide a statement for them to be able to use if they decide to either go with a cash discount program? And again, we didn't talk about this, but there's 3 programs that we also offer. It'll be the cash discount program, in which we now have the customer paying for the credit card fees. You have the hybrid, which is, can you explain the hybrid a little bit better? You'll be the best person to actually talk about this.
Carlos, I have this conversation with new reps every single day, so this should be
it's like a little training session.
Yeah, so I got you guys here. I can summarize this pretty quick. So cash discount, you're just factoring the credit card price into your total sale amount, right? So you're updating your prices to reflect the credit card price, and then offer a discount when the customer pays with cash. Pretty cool concept. It's really the best way to do it if you can. Hybrid, the way that hybrid works is it actually is a surcharge, right? Our technology would add a fee on if somebody paid with a credit card. It would add a fee onto that total sale for the credit card, but it recognizes a debit card and it would not pass the fee on for the debit card. So you would still get the cash price if you paid with a debit card. As a business owner, you would still have to pay the processing fees for the debit card, but the debit card fees are pretty low. You're paying like 1.5%. So it really does help a business's bottom line. The hybrid would come into play if you had like a big retail place. Let's say I got like a hardware store and I've got all these items and there's just no freaking way I'm going to update my pricing by 4% to factor in. It's just too much work. Hybrid would be a really good option because it would allow you to the machine to do the work, and you're still doing things compliantly by not surcharging the debit card, fitting those. And then you have traditional processing, which basically I'm not going to change my pricing. I'm not going to have my machine update anything. I'm the business owner. I'm going to eat the processing fees. I just want to get the lowest rate possible to do it.
Got it.
Yeah.
And usually what's the lowest rate possible in that?
Depends on the business, man. Like if I'm a salon and I have maybe a $40 or $50 average ticket and I still take a lot of debit cards, you get a very low effective rate. I mean, you can pay, close to 1.5% effectively. Wow. Right. But, if let's say I'm selling coffee, right? And I have these small tickets, right? Like my average ticket's $8 or $10. Well, it's tough to get that low because the interchange rate, there's a transaction fee and a discount rate. And so effectively the transaction fee carries a lot of weight. And so I might be paying even over 3%. And I'm actually getting a really good deal because my ticket is so small that, even though I have a good rate, the processing the card is higher. Hence that Chinese restaurant that is charging a fee for the small transactions.
That's what I was going with. Yeah. I was going to circle back on that one.
It's just killing your profit margin. That's why they should be doing cash discount. That's a way to get rid of that problem.
Yeah. No, man. Hey, and so for us right now, we only are able to support Spanish and English, right?
And Vietnamese.
And Vietnamese right now. That was my next question because we just broke into one of the new Cantonese and Vietnamese markets today, and wanted to make sure that you guys hear this. We are in the Vietnamese market now. How about Cantonese? Anything that we can do there?
Not yet. We're growing though. We're gonna keep expanding it out. We're really strong with English, Spanish, and Vietnamese right now.
Got it.
I have a feeling we're going to keep growing out more options as time goes.
Also, so and last question on this. This is for everybody because I think it makes sense. So in these three languages, do we have customer support?
Yes, all the way through.
Let's go.
There we go, man.
A lot of it. Yep. Customer service, tech support, POS support. You've got Spanish speakers and Vietnamese speakers in all of those departments. Pretty sweet.
That is awesome. But guys, this is a game changer. This is a BC Pay and Strata Vega Capital are going to revolutionize this market in this industry. Andy, thank you for taking the time tonight. Thank you for appreciate you actually being here with us. You're a wealth of knowledge. We love to talk to you. Every time I talk to you, I just listen because everything that comes out is just knowledge. Thank you, man.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be on, guys, and anytime. I love the questions, love the banter, so pleasure's mine.
I appreciate it, man. And Brock, thank you for everything. Salute to you guys. I know we got kids. Have a great night. And to everybody, do not forget, we definitely be able to count.
Your break.
Okay. Did it go away?
A little bit, in and out.
Oh my Lord. I think it's time for us to go. I think it's an hour. We're past an hour right now. Guys, thank you for your time. I appreciate everything. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody in all the groups, thank you for your time. Hey, we'll see you in the next video. Do not forget, go on the bottom of the video. You're going to have a link. You're going to have a special. What we're going to do, and if it's okay with you, on Andy, we're going to be putting out some of the information, some of the prohibited industries that we cannot get. Or give merchant accounts. But at the same time, if you want to know more about this and if you want to actually talk to us, want to talk to one of our reps, make sure that you call 516-600-0127. Until the next time, I'm Carlos Estrada, and I'll see you.